people do not live. They wait for something, work, love, and between these acts of waiting, life is lost. With these words, Chekhov does not pity people because they are unhappy, but because they are postponed. They live in a time that has not yet arrived, a time they fabricate through illusion, just as a prisoner fabricates hope for pardon. He does not accuse them of laziness, but of absence. For Chekhov, a human being is not defeated by death, but by postponement, by deferring one's existence to a coming moment that never arrives. This is the tragedy of the modern soul, to believe that real life begins tomorrow, while tomorrow exists only in language. Waiting here is not an act of patience, but a way of life. It is the hidden rhythm by which all civilization moves. We wait for a job as if it were salvation, for love as if it were grace, for travel as if it were rebirth. Yet we live in none of these, but in the gap between what is and what we hope for, between these two poles, desire and realization. Life dissolves like light in fog, unseen yet still there, unable to reach us. For Chekhov, a human being is not defeated by death, but by postponement, by deferring one's existence to a coming moment that never arrives. This is the tragedy of the modern soul, to believe that real life begins tomorrow, while tomorrow exists only in language. Waiting here is not an act of patience, but a way of life. It is the hidden rhythm by which all civilization moves. We wait for a job as if it were salvation, for love as if it were grace, for travel as if it were rebirth. Yet we live in none of these, but in the gap between what is and what we hope for, between these two poles, desire and realization. Life dissolves like light in fog, unseen yet still there, unable to reach us. Chekhov does not describe a passing social condition. He reveals an ontological disease within the human being, the disease of waiting. A disease that has rendered existence itself perpetually deferred to a moment not yet written. Martin Heidegger captured the essence of this feeling in Being and Time when he said that the human being is a being thrown into the world, governed by time, always striving toward a future it never reaches. Existence, for him, is a movement toward what has not yet happened, which is why humans live in a permanent state of advancing forward, what Heidegger calls being toward possibility. But Chekhov, unlike Heidegger, sees no philosophical salvation in this orientation, only a psychological tragedy. While Heidegger contemplates time as an ontological dimension, Chekhov experiences it as an emotional constraint where the future transforms from an open horizon into a mental prison. This is what Jean-Paul Sartre calls, in being and nothingness, living in bad faith, postponing ourselves into a future version we promise ourselves, thereby losing immediate awareness of existence. For Sartre, a human being is not what he is, but what he promises himself to become. And here lies the paradox. We live in the future, but die in the present. In the depths of this waiting, the tragedy of humanity appears as Arthur Schopenhauer saw it in The World as Will and Representation. Life, for him, is not governed by reason but by desire, and desire knows no fulfillment, it only generates new desires. For Schopenhauer, the human being moves in a closed circle. Once a desire is satisfied, another is born, and thus one lives as a captive of an unquenchable thirst. Here, Schopenhauer and Chekhov converge, seeing existence as a recurring torment, not because of the intensity of pain, but because of the endless yearning for what lies beyond. In the depths of this perpetual waiting, The tragedy of psychological time unfolds, as Henri Bergson explained in Time and Free Will. Bergson distinguishes between mechanical, external time measured by clocks and internal, lived time, the flowing duration of consciousness that cannot be measured in minutes but in feeling. Modern humanity seems to have lost this inner sense of duration and now lives according to industrial time, which knows no pause. Time is no longer a river but a straight line along which people are driven from cradle to grave without looking back. Chekhov, through his narrative method, hints at this gap between lived time and calculated time. The worker waits for the weekend, the lover waits for the meeting, the sick wait for recovery, everyone is postponed. As Milan Kundera wrote in The Unbearable Lightness of Being, they live between the weight of memory and the lightness of hope. The past cannot be forgotten, and the future cannot be grasped. Waiting thus becomes not a temporary state but a permanent dwelling, a refuge for souls that have not yet learned that existence cannot be postponed. Between Chekhov's lines, we discover that waiting is not only a disease of time, but a strategy for escaping awareness. Whoever waits is, at their core, attempting to silence the unanswerable question, why am I here? Kafka wrote in The Metamorphosis that when a person loses purpose, they become another being, half human, half shadow. Chekhov suggests the opposite. We become shadows when we have too many purposes. We hide behind them like a child hides behind a toy when afraid of the dark. Every act of waiting is a form of self-hypnosis, a soothing promise concealing existential fragility. Kierkegaard wrote in The Sickness unto Death that true despair is not losing hope, but closing one's eyes to despair and calling it hope. This is the core of Chekhov's cold surgical insight. Humans do not wait for something specific. They wait so they do not see their emptiness. Waiting is not a phase between two things, but a quiet operational state in which people maintain a fragile balance between dream and futility. Viewed socially, waiting is not merely an individual act but a hidden tool for managing masses. Karl Marx, in his Critique of False Consciousness, showed how the working classes are anesthetized by the illusion of tomorrow, by perpetual promises of improvement, progress, and future justice. Waiting thus becomes a grand political strategy. Keep people attached to what is coming so they do not revolt against what is. Power needs no weapon, only an endless promise of relief.